different games. Retro skates got a Pac-Man tattoo. Nobody here appreciates.
Hello, Broadway.com. George Salazar here with a very special guest, Bertie Michaels, our stage manager. And this is the final episode of Pac-Man Tattoo! So, Bertie is sitting with me and she's currently going through fan questions. You submitted questions on Twitter using the hashtag Pac-Man Tattoo, and Bertie's here to be the interviewer. Why Bertie? Why did I pick Bertie? Let me tell you a quick story. So yesterday, Bertie's lovely parents were at the show. That was yesterday, right? Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
A lot happened yesterday.
A lot happened yesterday. Bertie's parents came. Bertie's father got to watch Bertie call the show off Broadway for the first time. He'd never seen her do her job, like, up close. And he was fascinated by it. And her mom was, like, super jealous that she didn't get a chance to also do that. So she one-upped him and watched you call the show on Broadway. And I ran into them before the show, and they were like, "We watch you every week," and I was like, and they're like, "We watch Pac-Man Tattoo," and I literally was like, "Oh, good, but at least someone's watching it," and they were like, "We have only one note for you, George," and I was like, "Oh God, okay, what's the note?" And they were like, "We need more Bertie." So Bertie's here because I love her
Mom
parents,
and Dad.
and they watch, and here she is. So it's just a two-player game here with us. I know that I have put off answering these fan questions, but this episode is devoted completely to you, the wonderful, beautiful people who love our show so much and are such a huge reason why we're employed on Broadway. Thank you, and B, let's get started.
All right. From Sierra Barracks, Michael is such a lovable, well-developed character. How do you learn about the characters you play and really connect with them?
Well, first off, if I've had some luck with shows that are based on young adult novels. So Be More Chill was the first time that I got to do something that was based on a book, and then it was The Lightning Thief. And so with those two characters, obviously the first step is reading the source material, and then in working with the director and the writers is finding a way to infuse a little bit of myself with those characters. So, with The Lightning Thief, for example, it was really important to me that we stayed as true to the books as possible, because the movie adaptations were like Hollywood just ruined Percy Jackson. But with Be More Chill, I wanted to find a way to kind of fuse myself into the character a little more. And so, in the book, Michael is like a tall white guy with an afro, and I am not tall, white, or do I have an afro? I have tall hair, but yeah, it's all about like finding a way to kind of infuse myself into the character. And so with Michael, I basically tried to find a way to give myself a second chance at high school. Like, I viewed it as an opportunity to like go back and do it the way I as adult George would have liked to have done it. So every night I get to step into a time machine and give it another shot.
That's awesome. Gabby would like to know, do you have any auditioning tips?
Yes, breathe. It's really important to breathe. Also, I carry with me a little quartz stone that has like it's a thumb stone, and I keep it in my pocket, and it helps me. It's kind of like a fidget spinner, but it's a crystal. So the idea is that it will help purify and clear my energy. So I rub my thumb into it before going in, and I think the biggest tip I can give is just being yourself. Is kind of like trusting that you've done all the work. If you have done all the work, is trusting that you've prepared yourself to be in that room, and all you can do at that point is share what you've prepared, but also like show a little bit of who you are. Because at the end of the day, the sides are not what the director is going to be working with. It's really you and your personality. So you want to show them that you're someone who they're going to enjoy being in a room with. And if you're lucky, they'll ask you back over and over again.
This next question is very important. What is your skincare routine?
Skincare routine. Oh, okay. So I use a combination of Aesop and Kiehl's. I find that I'm like kind of transitioning into Aesop, but I use Kiehl's facial fuel. I love that face wash. It's like not harsh at all. And then I use a midnight serum under my eyes because that's the first place where you're gonna. Old age will start showing up. So I put a little bit of that on at night before I go to bed, and then in the morning I use a facial fuel eye deep puffer solution. Moisturize, and then twice a week I use my facial fuel face wash with Aesop exfoliant, which is like walnut shell and like coriander seeds. It's right there. It's right there on the shelf.
Yeah.
But it's it's like all natural. It's ground up, and you just add like a little pinch to your face wash, and then wash your face with that. It exfoliates. I do it at the end of a 2-show day because I've sweat so much and I've rolled around on the ground, and so it's important to like keep that all clean. But moisturize.
Skylar would like to know, did you ever think that you were going to be on Broadway? What was the first time you thought this could happen?
You know, I was lucky in high school. There were a lot of people in my life, and by a lot I mean like probably 4 people. But I was new to theater at that point. I had enough support in my life where people made me feel like I was capable of doing anything. And so when I moved to New York, even though the city was really scary and I didn't often know where my next meal or where the next month's rent check was going to come from, I kind of in my heart knew. It doesn't happen without hard work. So, but yeah, what was the rest of that question? Did I answer all of it?
Yeah. What was the first moment you thought this could happen?
Yeah, it was probably when I got cast in my first big show, which was the Spring Awakening second national tour. That was when I was like, Michael Mayer came into the room to watch us before we left town to go on tour, and I was like, I think I could do this.
Cool. Megan writes, I remember hearing Michael in the bathroom for the first time, and it had such a huge impact on me. How does it feel knowing you guys are taking part in something extremely touching and relatable?
That's a great question. My best answer to that would be Joe Trace and I, when we were off Broadway, were at a bar and we started crying. We were crying and holding each other and crying. And we were talking about how amazing it feels to be a part of something, to be a part of the creation of something that has had such an intense impact on the lives of young people specifically, especially like this generation of young people. I always talk about how impressive this generation is to me. I remember being in high school around 9/11 and Iraq and Afghanistan, and I remember feeling like I was powerless and I had nothing I did or said could affect change or change anyone's minds. I felt really helpless. And, in light of the tragedy down in Parkland, Florida, to see young people galvanized and using their voice and not being afraid to kind of go against the grain and speak their minds. It's incredibly inspiring. So to be a part of something like this is really a dream come true. Like I always wanted to help people. My mom's a nurse, and I wanted to be a doctor for so long, and it feels really special. And it's a responsibility and an opportunity that I and the rest of the cast don't take lightly. We really, we truly love you guys so much. And so, yeah, it feels amazing. And I think going forward, Joe Trace and I talked about specifically, like, we don't know how we can ever go work on something that doesn't have some sort of social impact in mind. So it would be very hard to like do a revival of anything goes. You know what I mean? Like I think it's important, and it's shaped our mission statement as artists to really like focus on doing good work that has a positive effect.
Yeah. Jordan would like to know, how long have you known Joe Iconis, and what was the first show you did with him?
I've known Joe Iconis since 2011. Jen Tepper introduced us to each other. I was doing Godspell at the time, and Jen was working for our lead producer. And she brought Joe to a preview performance and introduced us at a bar afterwards. And the first show that we worked on together was Be More Chill.
Yay.
We did I did his Christmas show at 54 Below, but there's a cast of like 80 people in that thing. So it's, but the first time I really got to like sit and work with him was on Be More Chill in 2014 when we did the first workshop.
Claude asks, who is your favorite musical artist?
My favorite musical artist.
Pick a genre.
I'm going to say right now, Lizzo. 100%. I love Lizzo's musicality. She plays the flute. She's an amazing rapper. She's an incredible singer. And also she is an amazing role model. She is a full-figured woman who is proud of her body. She's beautiful. And she is trying to reinvent the game a little bit, and I respect that. And she's I discovered her before she blew up, and I'm so happy she's blowing up now because she's amazing.
So a connected question. Cece writes, hi George, who inspired you when you were starting out?
I would have to say John Leguizamo. As a young person, he was really the only person that I saw myself in. I remember one of the first things I saw him in too was The Pest, but also was Tu Wong Fu, where he played a drag queen. And I saw a Latino man playing a gay character in a comedy, and I was swept off my feet by it. Yeah.
Great. Do you have any advice for upcoming performing arts kids? What advice would you want to tell yourself while you were growing up?
Believe in yourself, work really hard, be a really good person. I really lead with being a good person, and lead with your heart when you make your art. Like, I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but when you create, it should be coming from here. Because if it comes from here, it reads, and people will be drawn to it. If you create because you want to be rich and famous, people will see that from a mile away, and it'll just read as like disingenuous and not authentic. Just be true to yourself. That's what I'd say.
I love it. Charity would like to know what your dream role would be.
Seymour in Little Shop of Horrors. It was the first show I ever did. I was 16, and I have not done it since, and I would love, love, love to do it sometime soon. You hear that, Broadway?
Next question. In an alternate universe where Michael could see the effect Be More Chill is having on people, how do you think he would react?
In an alternate universe? Wow, that's so like Inception-y. If
Michael could see the impact that his story is having on people, how would he react?
I think his reaction would be similar to mine, of like kind of shock, and then I think that I think for him specifically though, he would feel, in spite of the hardships that he goes through in the show in terms of his friendship with Jeremy, I think that he would feel a sense of closure. I think it'd be like great closure for him because he would see how what he went through has allowed so many young people to feel seen and heard. Yeah.
Great. I love this one. Seneca wants to know, what is one thing you know about Michael that isn't explicitly stated in the show?
Can't tell you.
Secrets.
Yeah. Every character should have a secret. Birdie, I think we have time for one more question.
Terrific.
So because you have to get ready and so do I.
We're about to do a
We're about to do a
matinee.
matinee.
Looking through the last couple, what is your favorite thing that's been added to the show?
Ooh. For me personally, it would probably be my entrance and smartphone hour. I've always wanted to like fly on stage and I've never gotten to do anything like that. And it feels right that this girl Talia that I've created at Smartphone Hour has such a triumphant entrance.
Fabulous entrance.
Fabulous entrance and a sparkly, glittery iPhone. Yeah. Birdie, thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure.
For making time.
Thanks, everyone.
Mom, Dad, I hope you enjoyed this episode. My mom and dad, I hope you enjoyed this episode too. You guys, it has been truly such a wonderful opportunity to get to bring you along over these last couple of weeks to show you how our show opened, got their previews opened, is in a run now. We've done a cast album. We've performed on Good Morning America. It's been like really so wonderful that we've gotten to bring you along. And so I thank all my friends at Broadway.com for trusting me with this camcorder and for editing these videos and for making them look so good. So thank you guys so much. And you, every one of you who has watched these episodes, thank you so much. And a little teaser, I have really enjoyed doing these videos, and so keep an eye out because I think this is not the end of Pac-Man Tattoo. To be continued. Ooh, bye.
'Cause guys like us are cool in college. Cool in college, this I know.